Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating and, honestly, a really smart shift in global diplomacy. Countries that are teaming up to share embassies. Yeah, it's kind of like nations getting a roommate. And we're going to break down exactly why it's happening and what it all means.
So just think about that for a second. What if a bunch of different countries all shared the same embassy? I mean, on the surface, that sounds like it goes against the whole idea of national pride, right? Flying your own flag on your own sovereign ground. But this seemingly strange idea is actually becoming a super practical reality in capitals all over the world.
So, there's an official term for this, of course, a joint embassy. Basically, it's just an arrangement where nations decide to set up their diplomatic shops in the same location. And look, this isn't just about sharing a roof. It can mean sharing security, admin services, and all sorts of other crucial stuff, creating this powerful new way to have a presence on the world stage. So let's really dig into this modern model of shared diplomacy. One single address, but home to multiple nations. We're going to unpack why they do it, how it even works, and what it might tell us about the future of international relations. The easiest way to picture this whole thing is to just think of a co-working space. You've got different companies all sharing an office, the Wi-Fi, maybe the coffee machine, all to save a little money. Well, a joint embassy is pretty much that same logic, just on a global scale, with entire countries instead of tech startups sharing the resources. Okay, so this brings up the really big question. Why? Why would proud sovereign nations who usually go to great lengths to protect their distinct identities decide to share their most important foreign outposts? Well, the reasons are both super practical and, as you'll see, deeply strategic. The number one driver, and this probably won't surprise you, is cost. Diplomacy is incredibly expensive, and sharing a building can slash the budget. But it's also about security. It's way easier and cheaper to protect one consolidated building than several separate ones. And beyond that, it's a perfect solution for countries that have limited staff, and it's a really powerful way for regional allies to show the world, hey, we're a united front. So we get the why, but what about the how? How does this actually work in practice? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of what it takes to make a shared diplomatic mission actually function day to day. And this is where a really crucial line gets drawn in the sand. So nations might share the logistical stuff, the building itself, the security guard at the front desk, maybe some administrative staff. But, and this is a big but, they absolutely do not share what really matters: their own diplomats, their national authority, and their sovereignty. The address might be the same, but the diplomatic missions inside, they remain completely separate sovereign entities. These arrangements aren't all or nothing. It's more of a spectrum. Think of it like a ladder of trust. The very first step is just basic co-location, literally just sharing a building. If you climb a step higher, maybe you start sharing some administrative staff. But the top rung, that's sharing consular services, where one nation might actually help out the citizens of another. Now that requires a massive amount of political trust and alignment. This all raises a really critical question, both legally and symbolically. How do you share walls without blurring the lines of sovereignty? Well, under international law, that distinction is absolute. It's crystal clear. Even when they're inside the same building, each embassy's specific space is treated as the sovereign territory of its home nation. So you might share a lobby or a hallway, but you have definitely not merged your countries. The legal boundaries are rock solid, even when the physical ones are a little fuzzy. But beyond all the legal fine print, doing this sends a really powerful symbolic message to the rest of the world. Choosing to co-locate is a very public statement. It's a signal of a strong alliance, of political closeness, or a shared regional identity, which is something we see a lot with, say, the Nordic countries or members of the EU. Okay, so let's pull the lens back. What's the bigger picture here? Why does this innovative model actually matter for global relations? Well, as it turns out, the impact is a lot bigger than just diplomatic convenience. Exactly. If you think this is just about saving a few bucks on the electric bill, you're missing the real story. The cost savings are just the tip of the iceberg. What's really interesting is what's going on beneath the surface, the bigger strategic implications that are reshaping how countries work together. I mean, the real-world impact is pretty huge. For smaller states, this is a total game changer. It gives them a diplomatic reach they could never, ever afford on their own. And think about a crisis. Having your allies right there in the same building means you can have a much faster, more coordinated response. And for everyone involved, it just creates a stronger, more secure diplomatic footprint. So, when you get right down to it, the joint embassy is proof that diplomacy, which we often think of as old-fashioned and slow-moving, is actually adapting. It's a smart, pragmatic evolution that meets the economic and security challenges of the 21st century head-on.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty compelling question. As the world's problems get more complex and national budgets stay tight, is this the future of diplomacy? It really suggests a world where deep collaboration doesn't mean you have to erase borders, but maybe it just means you have to share a front door.